This week's special guest, Ken Reid, co-anchor of the primetime edition of Rogers Sportsnet Central. We're going to talk hockey, hockey cards, and baseball. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Coming up! Welcome to the program. Today's guest hails from Pictou, Nova Scotia. He is an avid sports card collector, over 20 years in broadcasting. He worked as a sportscaster in Calgary and Ottawa, worked for the NHL Network, covered the Grey Cup, Super Bowl, Olympics, Stanley Cup Finals. He is the anchor of the primetime edition of Sportsnet Central, the author of 6 best-selling books. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the program, Ken Reid. Ken, good to have you here, my friend.
Hi, Joe. I sound semi-impressive when you put that all together in one paragraph. I'm going to have to tell that to my dad.
Yeah, well, look at the graphic that Vic made up, too. I mean, did you see the hockey card earlier today?
That's pretty slick. Yeah. It's a good hockey card. That's my mustache era, if I'm not mistaken. And that's you got the Coho helmet in there. Respect. That's good. That Coho helmet, that's like the one Pierre Lambert wore on He Shoots, He Scores. Lost that comp. Probably old school hockey fans of CBC television.
Good Coho. Didn't Yari Curry wear a Coho? Am I mistaken?
Jofa,
right. Jofa, yeah. Of course. Yeah. Well, Ken, it's great to have you back in the program. Always love having you here. Let's talk about first a little bit about your books, Hockey Card Stories, Hockey Card Stories 2. Tell me, how did you get interested in sports hockey cards in particular in the first place?
Well, I mean, I was just like any other Canadian kid growing up, right? You had to have hockey cards. It was a rite of passage for anyone who grew up in the 70s or 80s. And where I grew up, I guess where the passion came from is where I grew up, the NHL was this far off fantasy land. And of course, you only saw one game a week and there was no internet. You couldn't look up stats. So if you wanted to know the players, you got the Hockey News, Hockey Digest. I was a Hockey Digest guy, and hockey cards. So if you want to know what guys look like, collected their hockey cards, and it was the closest you could come to the NHL without watching it or being at a game. So growing up in little old Nova Scotia, there's only one game on a week, so we traded hockey cards, we chewed the gum, we did what every other kid in Canada did. And as I got older, they went away for a while, but I'm a big history guy. I think I come by it honestly. My grandmother wrote a couple books on the history of the Musqueam Valley in Nova Scotia, and we're big into family history of our family, and for me, it translated to sports history. And for me, hockey cards are little pieces of history. So there you go. That's kind of the Coles Notes version of it.
Well, I'm guessing then that the Reid family settled into Nova Scotia many, many years ago.
Yeah. I think I got the books up in my my cabinet over there. It's early 1800s. The Reids came to Nova Scotia from Scotland. And where they settled, my uncle who just passed, he has 3 daughters. They live in the same little town, Middle Musqueam, Nova Scotia. It's in the woods between Halifax and Truro, and my family's been there for a couple hundred years now.
That's a long time. We have our family has a 2-book series called The Dolan Box in America. And wow. So actually, Tilley is short for Tillapa, which is a derivative, believe it or not, of Dallenbach. So you remember Wally Dallenbach, the stock car driver?
Yeah.
It's the same name. Yeah. When they came back off the boat back in the 1700s, they'd say, "What's your name?" And you'd say, they're from Switzerland. They say, Dillaba, Tillapa, Tillabach.
Yeah.
And whoever was doing the job at security at the time would write it down the way they felt it should be written down, and that's why you got all the derivatives of the same name. But it's pretty good. It traces our ancestry way back to the late 1700s. Yeah. So on this side of the pond.
So we're both old school. There you go.
Yeah, both old school. Yeah. Not as old school as some, like my friend Steve Beaupre, whose family were indigenous, the community.
Yeah, that's
but anyway,
real old school.
That's real old school. I asked you to send me some of your favorite cards, so you did. And we want to go through some of these first of all. There's
I
Ken
did.
Morrison
Yeah,
of this.
just a warning. These could change on any given day. You just asked me, and so
Okay.
like I mean, I got a
Well,
billion
that day,
favorite
right.
cards. So
Right.
yeah,
So here's some of them. I want to ask you about them. Oh, so I'm sorry. Kevin Morrison of the San Diego
yeah.
Mariners, circa
Mhm.
1975. Tell me, what's special about this card?
Well, they call Kevin Squid. He played. He came up in the Eastern Hockey League. Played in the Quebec League. Then he came up in the Eastern League. Then the American League, I think. Then the WHA. Always had a fond connection to the WHA. Perhaps because of Kevin, he was a family friend. My dad's. They knew some Morrisons down in Cape Breton. And I mean, I just love this card because it reeks of 70s. It reeks of WHA. Kevin does not come by his perm naturally. Like a lot of guys back in the day, he got a permanent. The mustache is very 70s. Kevin was tough as nails. If you look at his PIM totals on the back, they're not that big. But if you look at his Eastern League penalty minute totals, they're huge. And I asked him, how come he didn't get as many PIMs when he went to WHA? And he told me, well, because nobody would mess with me then, right? He basically beat the tar out of everybody his first year pro, and he got his room. He was an all-star. I just love this card because of my story of Kevin behind it. I featured it in one of my books. Kevin's a great guy. He's the kind of guy that would make a ton of money if he were playing today. He did okay back in the WHA days. Not all my cards are graded, but when you asked me for some of my favorite cards, I had a graded box nearby. So I looked through. But yeah, I mean, I just love the WHA. To me, the WHA, it put hockey in color. Took hockey from black and white to color in the sense of the great uniforms. Some people called them awful and cheesy. Joe, you were around then. You'd probably have a better opinion than me. But I love the color and the personality that the WHA brought to professional hockey. And Kevin
Well,
exemplifies that.
I mean, it changed the game. It brought a lot more money into the game. I mean, things were starting to change because of the Players Association and things going with Bobby Bond and then Carl Brewer and those guys. But the WHA certainly opened the floodgates. And I remember Derek Sanderson signing with, I think it was Philadelphia, whatever they were called. Blazers, right. And he didn't have to play home games. I mean, sorry, away games.
Yeah. Yeah. Got a Rolls Royce right away. Didn't hang around for too long, but he got the money.
No, the team didn't hang around for too long. It seems to me, I remember had Derek on the show one time. He was telling us that the ice was so bad in Philly that the Zamboni sunk going around the corner, and they had to stop the game. They couldn't continue, so they were giving souvenir pucks away that night, and the fans started throwing souvenir pucks at the players. And of course, Derek, being the star of the show, had to get out there and speak on behalf of the team.
They made him do the announcement. That's nice. Yeah, get drilled with souvenir pucks. Philadelphia, man.
Yeah, man, he's earning his $1 million a year.
Yes.
So next card you talked about is Phil Roberto, left winger for the Blues. And tell us about Phil.
Love this card because it's a fight on a hockey card. Always stood out to me as a kid. I ended up getting this graded version a few years ago for a couple bucks. And I mean a couple bucks. That was before the boom started. So a fight on a hockey card, this always stood out to me. And I think what makes it so great is he's fighting the rookie goalie for the New York Islanders there by the name of Billy Smith. So that's Billy he's fighting. And from this same set is Billy's rookie card. You can see Billy's kind of like this post-fight, and it was taken right after that picture. But Phil Roberto, a tough, honest hockey player. He assisted on Jean Beliveau's 500th career goal. He went on to the WHA where he played with some toughies in Birmingham like Frank Never Beaten, Jill Bad News Bilodeau, I think maybe even Dave Hansen. But I just love it because it was a fight on a hockey card. And I mean, forever, this was the only fight on a hockey card. And then, some specific sets came out, tough guy sets. But as far as O-Pee-Chee goes, I still think this is the last time O-Pee-Chee or Tops had a fight on a hockey card that I'm aware of. So again, Phil talked to me about this card for my first book, and it's so unique because I mean, Billy's unique, right? He would drop the gloves with a player. You don't see that anymore. So this card has a great story behind it, so that's why I like it.
So Billy Smith's rookie card should be the opposite view, right?
That's
it should
exactly
be the
right.
shot from the other side, right?
Yeah.
Billy,
it's basically
right?
It's a little bit after the Donnybrook. You can see Billy kind of getting his stuff together. So yeah, I love Billy and I love Phil and I love old school hockey, and that kind of sums it all up.
Perfect. Okay, well, the next one, a little more common, somebody we've heard a little bit more about. Maurice Rocket Richard,
Yeah.
Parker's rookie card, 1951-52. Now it says
Yeah.
on the card here, poor condition.
Yes, it
What's a
is.
card like
Yeah.
this worth?
That card there's probably worth about, I'm guessing, $3,000-4,000.
Wow.
Yes, it's in poor condition. That's SGC. They're one of the top 3 grading companies. But I always wanted the Rocket Richard rookie card. Again, I could never afford it. I became an adult. And again, I bought this before the boom, so it didn't cost me near what it's worth now. So I'm doing good on that. But yeah, just a nice card, graded. Doesn't have to be graded. I don't care if things are graded or not. But those cards are just little tiny things. They're about that big.
Right.
And yeah, I love them. They're just cool. It's basic. There's nothing on the back really. It's just, this is the Rocket. Here he is. That's there's actually Rocket was in a playing game set, like playing cards, and I have that too. But I love this Parkhurst one because that's the one that little kids would have been going for in 1951. So yeah, I mean the Rocket, that kind of speaks for itself. So that's just again, when I say cards are little pieces of history, that's a prime example.
Okay, the next one, Guy Lafleur. And is this his
Yeah,
rookie card?
yeah, that's Guy's rookie card.
Right.
Love the sideburns, right? You gotta love the
Yeah, yeah.
sideburns on it. Love the white socks. You can see he's got the white socks on, so that's just coming off the ice, and throw this uniform on and take a picture. Funny thing is, Guy Lapointe wore the same jersey. He wore a 10 for his card in 71-72, I believe. So
Really?
yeah, and that's young Guy with the pressure of the whole world on his shoulders, right? Being the next Jean Beliveau. And we all know the first 3 years didn't work out for Guy. Then he took the helmet off, and the rest was history. He got a 6 straight 50 plus. But yeah, I mean, Joe, I'm sure you interacted with Guy as well. Just such a gentleman. He had that Montreal Canadiens ambassador class aura kind of around him. And he was a special player to a lot of people. He was one of my favorites as a kid. And again, a card I got in my later years that just kind of means a lot to me.
Yeah, I used to share smokes with Jim McKenney in the tunnel leading
Yeah,
out of the dressing room between
I bet
periods.
he did. Yeah, the boys liked their darts back then. How
Okay,
the
now you
how the
got some
game
guys.
has changed.
Yeah, no kidding, right? That's totally, totally. But September's when they used to start getting in shape for the seaon, and some of them would even quit
Yes.
smoking. They got that serious about
No, God, no. There was ashtrays in the dressing room.
it.
You're old enough to remember that.
Oh yeah, I remember
I'm old
guys
enough
sitting on
to.
the floor having a beer after the
Oh
game,
yeah.
having a smoke. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, that's good,
Best.
good, good. Next card, some guy named Wayne Gretzky. Pretty sure
Yeah,
this is
this
his rookie
is
card.
that's Wayne's rookie, and that's saying Wayne Gretzky's your favorite rookie card is like saying you had Frampton comes alive in the '70s. It's just
Right,
or you like
you
Huey
did.
Lewis and the News in the '80s, or you like the Black Album by Metallica or the White Album by the Beatles. Everybody loves it. But yeah, this to me is my favorite card of all time, and I'm talking about this specific card. This one you're looking at here is my first Gretzky rookie card. My mother was at a yard sale or an auction actually in Western Nova Scotia. She bought a box of cards for $10. She brought the box home, and my brother and I looked at them and they said, "Oh man, they're the blue ones. I wonder if the Gretzky rookie's in there." Because my brother and I wanted a Gretzky rookie, but I mean we're 13 and 11 or 14 and 12, whatever we are, and it's well out of our price range. And we rifled through, and there this one was. You can see it's got a little marker sign on the Oilers sign, so it's not in great shape. It's not worth much, but it's the story behind it. So my brother and I share this card to this day. We both own it, but as I like to say, I have full custody. It resides in my house, and brother visits it once in a while when he comes up.
Uh,
And
you,
yeah, the cool story behind that card too, Joe, is I love those old Oilers uniforms. You can see that's the WHA uniform. And if you can believe
right.
it, that picture was taken in Springfield, Massachusetts. The Oilers were playing the Whalers, and they had to play in Springfield because the rink of the Hartford Civic Center collapsed due to massive snowfall. So, if anyone's wondering, you know, why that card looks so innocent, because it's taken in, an old minor league barn where Eddie Shore used to coach. So there's a cool story behind that as well.
So now is this? I heard recently that a Wayne Gretzky rookie card, a Peachy Gretzky rookie card, sold for $3.75 million. Is this the same
Correct.
card?
That's the same card in massively different condition. So when it comes to cards, condition is everything. So, I mean, you look at this one, you can see the top right corner, you see the white on the blue. That's rounding.
Yeah.
You mean you see the centering from side to side is off. See the markings on the Oilers logo. You see the bottom right corner is a little whited. Even the other corner that appears to be clean, you can see a little white on it. Card graders are, it's like the hardest math exam you ever took. Take the hardest teacher you ever had and multiply him by about 1,billion. That's how strictly they grade. So a lot of
Wow.
people will come up to me and say, "Oh, I've got a Gretzky. It's in perfect condition." And I'll say, "No, it's not." And they'll say, "Yes, it is." And I'll look at it and I'll say, "I hate to." And a lot of times, as a card guy, you're the bearer of bad news
Right.
because grading is. And people will say, "What will I get in a grade?" And I'm always very reluctant to say you're going to get this, you're going to get that. They literally are looking at it under microscopes. All these
Mm-hmm.
weird,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, microscopes, magnifying glasses, I should say. So it's very I don't know. I think it's still subjective, but beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But if you get a card in a 10, you're laughing. But that one would probably get a 1, I would guess. Be my guess. Something like that.
A
I had an
one out
8.
of 10?
Yeah.
A 1 out of
Yeah, that would
10
get a 1.
only?
That
Oh
would get a
man,
1. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking that if a perfect one sold for 3.75 million, I'm giving you 2.5 for that one.
I'll take it. You back the truck up. I'll take the 2.5. But it's funny
So
because
okay.
there's only been 2 Gretzky's graded PSA 10. And the first one graded PSA 10, people will look at it and they go, that is not 10.
Yeah.
So again, even when it comes to grading, people will look at it and they go, well, how did that get a 10? Or how did that only get a 7? So it's scrapping never stops, really. Grading's a great way to make money if you're the grader. That's what I've always said about grading.
Is that like judges in boxing?
Not that dirty. No, I don't think it's that crazy. Yeah, nothing's that quite that crazy. Yeah. But yeah, when it comes to grading, it's my first question is always, well, who's grading it? What's the standard? So I mean, I'm not the biggest guy on grading, which is strange because I showed you a few grading cards there. But if I was selling a card purely for investment, I'd grade it and sell it. But if it's just my card, I don't care if it's graded or not.
So if the perfect Gretzky card is 3.75 and that's graded a 1, which I can't believe, what's how far down the money chart have you fallen here?
Oh, the one that I have there, that would probably get you raw. When I say raw, that means not in a case. A few years ago, that'd get you $400. Now it'd probably, like retail, I'd say 2,000, 2,500 bucks, something like that. High end, I'm guessing, maybe a little lower, but you'd be into 4 figures. Yeah, into 4 figures. Yeah, for sure. So cards have gone nuts during COVID because people had nothing to do. It's amazing how when we had nothing to do, we actually went back and kind of lived our lives properly in a lot of ways and cherished what we have. But yeah, cards went a little haywire there. I think it's settling down now. So I didn't do much buying in the last couple of years because I was just like, what's going on? These prices are ridiculous.
Is it kind of like buying a house? Kind of like buying a house right now?
Yeah.
It's coming back a little bit. Yeah.
It's
give
coming
it
back
a year.
To reality.
Yeah.
Give it a year. Then I'll buy more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So another card, 1985, Mike McPhee. What's the deal here?
Okay, so you can see this one gets the old PSA 10. And again, when you asked me for my favorite cards, I had a box of slabs, we call it, laying around. So again, I got this one compared to what you would pay today on the cheap. You don't see PSA 10s every day, but it's not an uncommon card. It's from 1985 O-Pee-Chee, and they printed them like they were printing, Hilroy scrapbooks. There was a lot of them. But Mike was just one of my favorite players as a kid growing up. I try to collect rookie cards of everybody from Nova Scotia who played in the NHL. So Mike's a local boy, grew up just up the road, friendly fellow. You'd see him from time to time. As a kid, my brother would go to hockey school in Antigonish. Mike would be there teaching. Actually, just ran into him a couple months ago at the Danny Galvin golf tournament. So I had a chance. I'm like, well, it's in perfect condition. It's not going to cost me much. So there you go. I bought it. Of course, I've got plenty of raw versions of this card, and had it as a kid, and still have them. And there we go. I got one in a PSA 10. So there you go. And
what would the value of this one be?
Geez, I'd have to guess. I would guess in a PSA 10 holder now, I'd put it at probably at least $100, probably more than that, just because of the holder. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I mean, I didn't pay that for it. I can tell you that. So,
No.
not that I'm Warren Buffett here, but like I said, I haven't done much buying in the last couple of years.
Yeah. All right. So watch what Ken Reid does. If Ken Reid is buying, then it's a good time to buy. If Ken Reid is sitting
Yes,
back.
exactly. Well, I told you I was Scottish, right? So, I like bargains.
Okay, we got another card, Ken, to show you here. This is the card that Vic put on our promo material. The Ken Reid card. Vic, show us that one. There you go.
Oh, geez, yeah. That's so ECW. My publisher made those up for Hockey Card Stories too. So it's got the book advertisement on the back. So this would probably be 1983, I'm guessing. That's my Picto Miramax jersey.
Whoa!
I got those skates changed my life. Those are Dow 301s, the kind Gretzky wore, and I had the worst ankle support. I was one of those kids who dragged his blades on the ice, and I put those on. I bought them. My next door neighbor, Donnie Clark, his son David, had worn them the year before he grew out of them, so they gave them to me. They have the clear blades. Remember the clear blades, the plastic ones? They were just awesome. It was like skating on plexiglass, and I could skate that year. As you can see, I got the Gretzky Titan.
Yeah.
The heads up, no tape on the legs, just Velcro straps. Rock and roll, baby. Those were the days. That's the Hector Arena in Pictou, Nova Scotia. Evidently not after a flood, because there's about 50 pounds of snow on the ice.
A lot of snow there. So was that the Mike scoring title was won that year or what?
Not by me. No, I was the third line plug on a 2-line team. It was safe. It was safe.
But you look good. I can tell you that. You look good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So good. Would Gretzky be the Gretzky card? Is that the most valuable card you've got, or is there something you've got that might be worth a little bit more?
In terms of value, I have some that are in better that are. I got a Bobby Orr rookie that's worth more than that. The Richard would be worth more than that. There's a few others lying around that aren't necessarily the biggest name, but they're more rare and in better shape. So yeah, there's some in the collection that are worth more than that for sure. But that's the one that tugs at the old heartstring.
Right. And Kevin was the first squid before the other squid, Rick Vibe, right?
Ricky Vibe, yeah, real original
Kevin
nickname. Kev's from Cape Breton, Squid. Rick's from PEI, Squid. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. So you also wrote a book on Eddie Shack, great book. Not long before he passed, we had a chance to talk to you and Eddie just after you wrote the book. It was and you must have felt blessed that you were able to hook up with Eddie the Entertainer, before he left us and get this one written.
Totally. It was like it was kind of special when you look back on it, because Eddie loved those 4 months we were promoting the book, right? Eddie, he loves the camera, he loves the microphone. So for those 4 months, he was loving life, and he was going hard. And when I say that, I mean working hard, because Eddie loved to work. He liked to make a buck. So he got a great thrill out of that. And then just the January right afterwards, they came down the cancer and all that stuff, and left us in July, I believe it was. The anniversary wasn't that long ago. Brian Aaronworth from Framework was talking to me about it.
He was a part of
There he is. And yeah, Eddie was just an absolutely wonderful guy. My God, he had so many stories. And the hockey world could look at that, the big crossovers. The hockey world could use more of that. They could use it as some entertainment. Bobby Hull was the same way. He would entertain you. There's Eddie skating away from the plague or others. He loved that. He loved telling that story. It's motoring out of there. But yeah, it was cool to be kind of a fly on the wall, or somewhat a small part of doing the book signings with him. Eddie said stuff that would, if I said it, I'd be apologizing. He just kept on trucking. He was from a different era. He thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great thrill to get to know him, and to just share some moments away, in private moments, I guess, with him. Whether it was in his garage or backstage at a book signing. And he always wanted me to drink red wine during the day, but I'd always tell him I had to work that night. So that was the difference between Eddie and I.
Good call. Now, Eddie, he didn't have, I think, a grade 7 or grade 8 education, but did extremely well in business. And I remember Eddie, I
Yeah,
said, Eddie, you did so well for a guy with no education. And he said, I could count.
1 million,
I could count.
2 million.
Too many.
Yep. Eddie taught me that you don't need a big degree on your wall to be a smart person, right? He's a really intelligent guy in his own way. And yeah, he could. I think he got a buzz off just even making a dime. I think like he got a great buzz off
Mhm.
making $1, and I think that that was probably his passion more than hockey, to be honest. Um, Hockey gave him a chance to shine. It gave him a chance to get a lot of attention, which I think he enjoyed. And he was smart enough to know, okay, I can be Edward Shack, the hockey player, or I could be Eddie the entertainer. And I think he made a conscious decision that Eddie the entertainer would put a few more dollars in his pocket than if he was just Ed, a hockey player for the Leafs. So I think he was pretty conscious of what he was doing.
And you know what? He's absolutely right. I mean, Leaf fans just absolutely loved Eddie Shack. I mean, he
Hmm.
was so much fun. He
Hmm.
was just always so much fun. You can always
Yeah.
count on Eddie to spruce up a hockey game, eh?
Spruce up a hockey game, spruce up a dinner party, spruce up a random run into him in a food court. That was the thing when people met Eddie, they didn't just, oh, today I met Eddie Shack. I saw him and took a picture with him. They left with a story. The comment Eddie would
Right.
make about your hat or your mother, your girlfriend. Um, Eddie gave people like, and when people lined up to meet him at our book signings, he didn't just sign the book. He gave them the Eddie Shack experience, which I think he knew people wanted. So again, smart fellow.
A couple other books I wanted to touch on before we get into some other stuff. The One Night Only, about players
Hmm.
that suited up for one NHL game and only one
Yeah.
NHL game.
Yep.
And what prompted you to write that one? What made you say this is
I
a book I got to
I
write?
always dreamed of playing in the NHL like anybody else, and I thought, man, what I'd give for one game. And then you're like, oh, I wonder what the guys who played one game thought of that. Was it worth it? Was it just like, was it a huge disappointment? Was it the highlight of their life? Was it just another footnote along the way? And the answers varied.
Right.
And I was afraid when I wrote that book that I'd call guys up and I'd get screamed at, from these bitter fellas who'd sit at the end of a bar telling people I used to play in the NHL, but that wasn't the case at all. So that kind of it made me feel good in the sense that most of the guys, if not all of them, over time at least, would approach it from the perspective of being thankful and not being bitter about it. Sure, there were some guys that were, there's still some lingering, coulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda. But for the most part, the guys were like, you know what? After a while, I realized it was an experience. It was part of it, and didn't shape me who I was either way. But I'm thankful for it, which I enjoyed. I like that.
Well, there was back in the day, back in the original six, there was a time when players were right on the cusp or probably should
Oh
be
yeah,
playing in the NHL, but for one reason or another, the general manager didn't like him or the coach didn't like him, and they never got a shot. And it's unfortunate because that would happen much more frequently than would say today because there's
oh
many
yeah,
options.
yeah. There
Right.
was, yeah, there was guys. There was one guy I talked to for the book, and his name was Minnie Menard. Remember Howie Menard used to play for the Blackhawks. He was
Mm-hmm.
Howie's brother. It's Howie's brother, and he had one game. I want to say it was with Detroit, and he won a world championship and an Allen Cup with the Belleville McFarlands in the late '50s. And he said, "Well, I could have played more, gone more, but I was making 18,000 with Belleville, and Detroit offered me 7,000 to play for them, or 4,000 if they had to send me to Edmonton. So that's pretty
Yeah.
much a no-brainer in 1958. You're going to play senior for Belleville and make 18,000, or play in the National Hockey League and make seven? Come on." So there's stories like that too that just are kind of going, oh, yeah, I guess it makes more sense to play senior hockey back then, which just people my age and much younger, that really, you wouldn't think that, but that was the case for some guys. They'd make better money playing senior than they would in the NHL. So, and with the goalies, I mean, geez, in the original 6 days, there were no backups, right? Only six goalies played in the NHL. Think about that. That's absolutely insane. So there's that too. So it was a tough league to play in, still is. But yeah, even if you get there for one game, that's pretty incredible to me. And I wanted people to appreciate that because I've always approached it from, wow, you played in the NHL, be it one game or 1,000. I think that's a great accomplishment. So I kind of try to get that through as well.
Well, and of course, there's a whole whack of guys who never even got the one game for various reasons.
Yeah.
People like Herb Carnegie,
Yep.
who Beliveau once said was the greatest player he played for or with or against, and they never got a chance to play in the NHL. No doubt about it.
Right.
So one to remember. Stories from 39 NHL players who scored one big league goal.
Yep.
And once again, what was the impetus for this?
It's just an offshoot of One Night Only. Same kind of dealio, Okay, so you scored one goal. We've all dreamed of scoring a goal in the NHL. Well, what if it stops at one? The interesting thing about this book was there's guys who had, they were around for more than one game. In some cases, they played a few seasons and only scored one goal. And there's some goalies in there as well. But yeah, again, a lot of the guys in the book scored the goal when they were very young, right out of junior, and they thought, okay, this is the first of 500. I don't know.
Yeah.
So why did it stop there? Why did it end there? Was one enough? Was one not enough? How did you get that one? Can you remember that one? And there was, my God, the first story in the book is just like the most wild story I ever heard. And I couldn't believe it when I heard it, but it's true. And there were some wild stories in there. I didn't think someone would only score one goal because they almost bled to death in a bar fight. But hey, things happen, man. Things happen. That's how she goes sometimes.
Well, I'm sure that's the case for a lot of the guys in there, right? They got the goal and then they got injured. Something happened. And,
yep. They got injured. They never got called up again. They were stars in junior, just couldn't get that extra oomph in the pros, or maybe they were a big right winger in junior, but they're 6 on the depth chart because they had joined the Edmonton Oilers. Life's all about timing. Sports is no different. And man, maybe there's no injuries in front of it, you don't get in enough. But yeah, there was some. I just enjoy talking to players about their stories and forming them into some sort of narrative. So that's the joy about writing these books. Is I'm a hockey nerd, Joe, and if you're just walking down the street and you see a hockey player, if you start picking his brain, he thinks you're annoying. But if I do it, I might be annoying, but at least it's part of my job, so I can justify it in a way. And I like listening to the stories, so that's kind of all these books are for me.
Well, I want to talk about your other job, the full-time gig. You tweeted this back. This is neat. When I saw this, I said, I got to, next time I have Ken on, I got to look at this. So here's something you tweeted a while back. I think it was back in January, maybe. If you've ever wondered what a sports anchor looks like when reading highlights, and I'm sure you have, well, here you go. At Ivanka Osmak could still hear me from 109 feet away. Work some sandbox lyrics into the Avs Wild Pack 2. All right, let's have a look at that.
Have Ken 2, Colorado. Look at them pass the puck. They're so good. Nathan McKinnon shoots. Hey, no. Campbell Kakana makes the save. Or does he? Watch the puck, Osmak. It's in the net. That's a goal. Don't air good for Nathan McKinnon. And Dean Evanson, look, he wonders about that call. He's furious. It's 3-2 Colorado. But his team, they will come back. They're safe, I trust, because Kirill Kaprizov scores and his coach is no longer furious. This one goes all the way to a shootout. Kaprizov needs to score to keep things going. Whenever we say that, Osmak, there's a save, right? There's a save. Avalanche win 4-3. Furious. You get that one? You see where I was going there? Yeah, sandbox.
I love that stuff, Kenny. Because that gives folks an idea of what it's like behind the scenes. Tell us about what was going on for you there.
Yeah, just reading a highlight pack off the prompter, and I'm looking at the highlights as I read it. There's a script in my hand, as you know, Joe. But yeah, when we open up the behind the curtain to people, you and I don't think that's a big deal, but people seem to respond to that because they don't see what we do. So, as you know, you're the same as me. You're provided with a script read the highlights. I know you don't stick to the script all the time. I definitely don't stick to the script all the time. None of that's really written in there. It was probably Dean Evanson does not like the call and he scores, and then I just kind of ad lib off it. The reason I worked the Sandbox lyrics to that was my buddies. Sandbox was a band from Pictou County, Nova Scotia, back in the mid '90s, and their big hit was a song called "Curious." And the drummer Troy Shanks texted me and he said he was watching that night. So when Evanson was furious, I just changed "Curious" to "Furious." And the only reason I recorded it was I was sending it to the boys back home for a laugh, and I thought, well, I'll tweet it out anyway. So there you go. So I was doing it for my buddies to make them laugh. So
right,
and that's one thing I like about sportscasting, Joe, and I'm sure you'll say the same thing. When you start, you try to be a sportscaster. After a while, you realize I'll just be myself, and if it works, it works. And me being an idiot, I guess I'm an idiot by nature. I'm a clown by nature. I guess it works. I'm still employed, so there you go. That's how I've evolved to this moron. Yeah.
But you know what? It's great stuff, and you do such a great job. I love watching it working.
Well, it's like you when you do your coming up.
Yeah,
I'm like, obviously, once upon a time in the teleprompter, it just said coming up, and then I'm assuming you were just had fun with it. I love that.
Well, I'll tell you the story. So we got a new set. I used to do a pre-pack. So what I do is I do because sports always followed a commercial break. So going into the commercial break, we'd want to keep people around. So I'd tease them a little bit, and then I'd say sports, coming up. And you wouldn't see me because it was a pre-packed highlight thing. But then we got this new set, and this new set included stairs, and it was a little bit more of a dynamic, exciting. So they wanted me to do the same thing, the coming up, roll video in the corner, and have me walk down the stairs and say, Leafs getting ready to face the Lightning in the playoffs. Sports coming up, and as I'm walking down the stairs, it just seemed like the thing to do. Sports coming up, and I just threw my uppercut, and it just happened.
Honest boxing background.
And it's stuck. So a couple of days later, I'm in the makeup room, getting ready for the show, and I used to see Lloyd Robertson every night. Lloyd was coming off, doing the 11 o'clock CTV National News, and I was going in to get my makeup on for the 11:30 sports. And he says, "Joe, they're coming up. I love it. You got to keep that. People are going to remember that." And I said, "You know what? If it's good enough for Lloyd Robertson, it's good enough for me." And I kept it. Lloyd is the reason that I kept doing that. And so
that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean, some people had a problem with it, but I just thought
there's always people with a problem. There's always people with a problem. They're usually the guys getting paid a lot more than us who work in the corner offices. Right. Not talking about my bosses, but that's usually has a problem. I work. My bosses at Sportsnet, they give me free reign. I worked for a guy once upon a time, and he wanted me to read the highlights. Grant Fuhr makes the save. The Oilers come the other way, and Wayne Gretzky scores. I'm like, you just showed me do the highlights. I love sports because I love sports. I get into it. That's who I am. So to read it any other way isn't authentic. So my bosses, God bless them, they let me do what I want to do, within the realm of good taste. But I think I kind of know where those walls are. But I've worked for people that wanted me to just lay it right down the line. And I'm like, well, I'm not the guy for that. And, when you work for people like that too, who aren't philosophically aligned with how you see things, it's a little unnerving. It's a little rattling. But when you work for people who do see it the way you do it, or at least respect you enough to say, okay, I wouldn't do it that way, but he does, and that's fine. I think that's when you find success and like that feeling. There's no stress when you're doing it. If like your boss has your back.
Right. And there's no way that you get to where you are today if you don't do it Ken Reid's way. I mean, that's just the way it is. We have to establish ourselves, and we have to find our own little niche, and we have to, add our own personality to it. And if we don't do that, then we're just another talking head. And you could be anybody. You could be, Ben
and that's
Tweed.
Ben, but that's the beauty of it, right? Like the way I found my voice, this is the voice I have now, and it's taking me here. maybe if I found a different voice, it would have taken me somewhere else. But I take great pride in being my authentic self. And the greatest comment I can get is when somebody meets me and they're like, "Oh, you're kind of just like you are when I see you on TV." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's kind of what it is." It's my favorite. I always tell this to young broadcasting students, as they always ask, and I always say, "Hey, it all goes back to Audio Slave." And I'll ask the kids, I'm like, "Any of you guys know who Audio Slave is?" Some of them are like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, Chris Cornell. The guys from Rage Against the Machine supergroup." My favorite Audio Slave lyric always applies to television personalities. To be yourself is all that you can do. If you're a serious person, be serious. If you're a goofball, be goofball. If you're a little bit in between, be a little bit in between. And listen, goofballs sometimes have to be serious, and serious people sometimes have to be goofballs. So just roll with it and be yourself. And if you be yourself and you get a job, it's great. If you be yourself and you didn't get the job, well, at least you went down swinging. That's kind of how I look at it.
Right. You've got your integrity in place. And
Yeah.
another thing is, Ken, like we've talked about this before, but there was a time when you struggled with depression and anxiety,
Mhm.
and how much has that that the change in you helped to get you to where you are today, and what did you do to get there?
Tons. So I started seeing a psychologist. It's got to be over 10 years ago now. I got on meds. It's got to be 10 years ago now. And it, like when I was getting on the meds, I was like, I just want to be normal. Like if I have a bad day, I just want it to be a normal bad day. So I think that's helped a ton. It's helped in my confidence. And when I say it's helped in my confidence, now when I make a mistake, it's a mistake and I can deal with it. Before, when if I made a mistake, it would just eat me up. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did that. Well, guess what? People make mistakes. The best goalies in the world usually let in at least 1 or 2 goals every game. So things are going to go wrong. So I think what it's done for me, it's given me the ability to deal with not necessarily failures, but mistakes, right? So and realize that if something goes wrong, it's not the end of the world. And then and I think it's given me that because I'm just at more of an even keel level before. Before I was always kind of down. But then when you're down and something bad happens, you go further down. Now when I'm here and something down happens, I just kind of go down to where a normal person should feel down. So yeah, it's made me, I don't want to say happier, but normal, I guess. And normal to me is happy. So maybe it has made me happy. But yeah, I don't think I'd be doing what I am today if I did take the steps to try to make myself a little better mentally. And my wife's the number one star when it comes to that. I was just always kind of bleh, and now I'm not. I definitely wouldn't have been able to write the books without taking care of myself. I definitely wouldn't have been able to be a better dad, or what I consider a decent dad without taking care of myself. And even like the subjects of the books, the first 2 books, hockey card stories. Well, I mean, what grown adult male wants to admit he collects hockey cards? Well, quite a few now because I don't want to. A lot of people admit they do it because they're worth money. But in 2014 or 2012, when I pitched the book, the hockey cards are kind of like sports cards are kind of like a certain brand of movie. We all watch it, but not everyone admits it. And I think you know what genre I'm talking about. So that's kind of what hockey cards are like. We all do it, just not everybody admits it. So, and it's funny with sports collectibles. People are like, oh, you collect memorabilia, you're a dork. And I'm like, I guarantee you, if I go in your house, you got at least one thing. So, I'm it. I guess dealing with the mental depression, the anxiety. I guess the best way to put it would be it's allowed me to be myself, win or lose, success or failure. It's allowed me to be myself and to be comfortable within my own skin. Because for years I would wear a mask. I always that's my analogy. Wear a mask and put on a brave face. Well, now I can just be me. And some days that's smiling. Most days it's smiling. Some days it's not. But it's just allowed me to be me, which I greatly, greatly appreciate.
It's so much easier to do that, just to be me and not put the pressure on trying to be something I'm not, and not trying to be, have to react to that all the time. And it's really hard. It's really hard living that line, living and trying to live up to the map we create, right?
Yeah. So the mask you create to that living a life to please others instead of pleasing yourself. And often when you please yourself, you will please others. You just don't know that, right? If I'm happy and I'm taking care of myself, it makes life a lot easier for my family, for my friends. If I'm in a horrible state, look, my wife was kind of just like, I'm done. Like, I'll do my best, but I'm not the one who can help you. You can only help yourself. When you realize that, it's like,
Right.
oh, wow. Really? Yeah. So that was kind of what it was for me.
Yep. Reach out, ask for help because it's there if you ask for it. I want to talk a little bit about the playoffs in hockey that wrapped up this year. I mean, first of all,
wrapped up a week ago.
Playoffs? yeah. They're way into July this year.
Oh my God!
Now, did you? What did you think of the playoffs? Did you think the refs perhaps did they play a lesser role than they have in the past? What are your thoughts about that?
I thought the refs were fine. I think the easiest thing in the world is to pick on the refs. It's such a tough job. I thought they did a great job. People crap on me for this, but I think NHL refs are the best in pro sports. You're in a box. Everything's moving at 1 billion miles an hour. You also have to have the ability to move at 1 billion miles an hour and skate. There's no escape. You can't grab on the glass and go up if you're a liney anymore like you used to because the glass is too damn tall. I think the refs did a good job. I think the hockey was outstanding. I think as a hockey community, we just all have to get together and go, look, games are on ESPN, TNT, and Sportsnet. Can we end this charade by May long weekend so the players can heal and be healthier and so the fans can enjoy their summer so we can leave wanting more? Like like right now it's August. I should be kind of excited that hockey's back soon. It's like, it just ended. When it used to end on May 24, May 15th, we were ready for it. I get it this year because of the COVID thing, because of the Olympic thing. But going forward, and I know it's not going to happen, but for the love of Moses, can we just get it to end by May long weekend? I don't think I'd get a vote against me in the whole country.
No, we're all on side with that. You talk about ending the season and wanting more. What are the Flames fans thinking right now? What is it like to be a Flames fan right now?
I don't know about the Johnny Gaudreau thing was a kick in the gut. I think they did fantastic in the Tkachuk trade. Now, whether they can sign Huberdeau and we for a longer term, that's up for debate. But from a pure hockey trade, they're better with Huberdeau and Uyghur, I think, than what they with Tkachuk. Tkachuk's point totals were astronomical. I want to say 104 points. I don't know if he can do that without Johnny Gaudreau. But the Gaudreau thing was definitely a kick in the butt, kick in the pants for Flames fans. But I think they're two American kids, Maybe they just don't want to set up long-term in Calgary. That was clearly the case with Gaudreau. I wonder if Tkachuk would have left, if Johnny stuck around. But if I'm a Flames fan, I'm definitely disappointed with the Gaudreau thing. But the Tkachuk thing was more okay. At least it was up front. It was okay. I want out. You got to trade me. Whereas the Gaudreau thing, it just kind of kept them on a leash and dangle, and then left for nothing. At least with Tkachuk, they got a really good return, if you ask me. If they can sign one of those guys, it'd be better. But I think it was a good hockey trade for Calgary. Your Leafs are the guys I'd be worried about how their postseason's going, but I'm sure that was your next question.
Well, they're up against the cap, right? So, what kind of moves, if you're Kyle Dubas, are you thinking about making right at this point, or can you do anything?
I don't know what you can do. You need to have a capologist. I think it hurt the Leafs a little that the COVID thing and the cap not going up for a couple of years. They got the money tied to those big four guys. The goaltending, man, I don't know about that. My son and I were talking about that on the way to his goalie camp this morning. That's up for debate. Again, I look at their back end. If you look at what won in the playoffs, okay, you got Cale Makar on one side going against Victor Hedman and Mikhail Sergachev on the other. There ain't nobody on the Leafs that's rolling with that group. You look at the hard-nosed playoff hockey, that hard style that it takes to win. I ain't seeing it on that Leafs group. Again, when I look at the Leafs roster, I see the exact roster I'd want to go into a fantasy league season with, but we play in reality. And until the style of the NHL changes, I can't see it working. I just can't. And people say, we took Tampa all the way to 7 games. Yes, in the first round. The bar here is so low. And I just, when you see the style that's required to win in rounds 3 and 4, I just can't see Toronto playing that way. I can't. So I don't know what you do if they're the Leafs. They keep going back. How many times did Chuvalo fight Muhammad Ali? Twice?
Twice.
He fought him twice? Okay. Did he fight the same style in both fights?
He didn't fight the same style within the fight.
Okay.
And neither did Ali. They both had to adapt,
So if Muhammad Ali has to adapt to George Chuvalo, the Toronto Maple Leafs should have to adapt to the rest of the NHL. But I just see them going with the same philosophy, the same game plan as they did the last however many years. Like, to me, Joe, it's no different. It's easy to say on August 1st they could make a lot of deals and stuff. But I don't know, man. It's the Cup seems a long way away from Toronto.
So here's what happens, Ken. I'll tell you right now what's going to happen is Matt Murray's going to regain his old form. He's going to be the old Matt Murray. He's going to catch fire. He's going to lead them to the promised land, and they'll win a playoff series or two, and everything will be fine.
See, I wish Matt Murray nothing but the best. The guys down in Belleville last year, he won a couple cups there with Pitt. He was the number one goalie for one of them. I never want to see a guy go down at the age of 28. I wish him nothing but the best. But I think the sad thing you said there, Joe, is that they're going to win 1 or 2 rounds and everything will be back to normal and back to good. That's a sad, sad state of affairs for Leafs fans when you consider success a playoff victory or 2.
Well, when you haven't had one for 20 years, it's, one playoff, 18 years. One playoff series looks really good right now. One playoff series.
Look, I could go to the gym and work out for a month and bench 140. I could be proud of myself, but in the end, it's still rather pitiful.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, our like you said earlier, the bar is pretty low. Okay, so I want to talk about Toronto teams that are in the mix, maybe for some big names here. Like I know that you tweeted out recently that the Jays should be all in on Shohei Ohtani. Should they?
Yeah. Well, John Heyman says he's off the market now, so they should have been. Heyman says the Yankees made an offer. I'm not shocked by that. The Yankees went out and got a reliever today. So, man, the Jays should be giving her right now. Maybe they are. Maybe behind the scenes they are. They've got 3 catchers, 3 really good catchers. You can't play 3 catchers last I saw. Let's go. I'm dangling Moreno if I'm them because Kirk is a freebie. He's emerged as an all-star. Danny Jansen's, you need that veteran presence. So I'm dangling the kid. That's who I'm dangling.
And the kid might be the best of the bunch, though, in a couple of years from now. But again, when you're talking about prospects, you never know. Somebody was talking about the Dickey.
You're talking to an Expos fan who saw Randy Johnson traded for Mark Langston, and I'd still make that deal.
Yeah. Well, somebody's talking about the R.A. Dickey deal, and to the Mets when a couple of that great pitching prospect, his name escapes me right now for whatever reason, got hurt.
Syndergaard.
Yeah, Syndergaard. Right. So when you total up just the wins of Dickey as a J and Syndergaard with the Mets, it's pretty close, which you would never would have expected, right?
Look at the Tulowitzki deal. Everybody freaked out. The kid who was traded, I believe it was Hoffman. It hasn't become much. The reason prospects are prospects is because they haven't done anything yet. Yes, some of them are going to pan out. Tons of them are going to pan out. Tons of them are not going to pan out. Sometimes you got to gamble, baby. And if I'm the Jays right now, I'm gambling. You're not going to get Vladdy and Bo this cheap ever again. It's just they're going to go up through arbitration. Then if you want to sign one of them, it's going to cost you $350 million. You might as well go for it now.
Juan Soto?
Absolutely. If I'm the Jays, I'm all in on Juan Soto. Absolutely, I'm all in on Juan Soto. Left-handed bat they need. He's here for at least, a year and a half? Go for it. Absolutely go for it. No doubt about it. That name I just mentioned, Moreno, dangle him out there. You're going to have to dangle some really good prospects. Probably going to have to dangle an established guy. You got to go for it at some point where you can do this. And, now's the point. Everyone's been very patient with Shapiro and Atkins. It's built up. They took her down. They built it up. We're going to acquire assets. We're going to build the farm. Here we go. So let's see what happens. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Maybe they have made efforts to do it. I'm not sure. I don't know. But if a name like Juan Soto's out there, you have to be a moron not to at least call and say, "Hey, what's up?" It's like in high school, right? When your buddy breaks up with the hottest girl in school, you got to at least ask. Like, I know she's not going to the prom with me, but I got to put myself out there, right?
At least send her a note without a name on it,
hey,
so that see if it perks her interest.
I know this is really unrealistic. I'm probably going to pick you up in my mom's '89 Ford Tempo to go to prom, but I got to ask. You know, and like Oprah says, man, Oprah says you got to ask. If you want something, you got to ask for it. So.
Yeah,
can be told no.
And Soto is only 23 years old. That's what I can't believe. This kid is 23 years old. Yeah, wow.
Oh my God, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Yeah.
So the Rogers Center recently, the Jays recently unveiled programs here for the rejuvenated Rogers Center. That raised bullpen looks pretty cool, and the massive stand-up section in the outfield, the world's largest rooftop patio. Is this going to do the trick, or is this going to be what the Jays need right here? Is there a new ballpark in the plans down the road?
No, I think this is it for a long time. It certainly doesn't hurt. The 500 level looks really cool on the left field side, I think it is. Standing up there, big party section. Attendance, I think it's going to be max around 40,000, so I'm worried if beer prices could somehow go even higher. The best way to not pay $17 for a beer is just don't pay it. So, I think I would look, if we could supposedly put a man on the moon in the 60s, we could put grass in the Rogers Center, couldn't we? I mean, I wish it was grass, but everyone seems pretty cool with the turf. I'm a traditionalist. I'd love to see grass in there, but the renderings look really cool. Looks really nice.
Yeah.
I have no complaint.
It does look good. And you know what?
It does.
I wonder over the years if there was any players that might have come here if it had been grass. I know we've heard that sort of rumor over the years that there have been players that said, no, I'm not playing on turf. But really, I don't know. It looks pretty good. And the development of turf over the years too is,
Yeah, well, that's just it. Again, as an old Expos fan who saw Andre Dawson leave because he couldn't play on the turf anymore. In the Rogers Center, you're still so far away from the play. But again, as an old Expos fan, first time going to the Rogers Center, I'm like, oh my God, you're on top of things. Because the Expos, man, you're so far back. But then you go to a place like Detroit, or you go see the White Sox, or when you go to Wrigley, you're looking right down at them. So I wish the stands were closer. But yeah, the renderings look pretty cool. That'd be fun. They're gonna have to cut Arash Dandy's salary though if they're gonna pay for that.
Yeah, no, it's got to come from somewhere, right? Speaking of broadcasters at Sportsnet, you guys just welcome back Jamie Campbell and Buck Martinez, who've undergone cancer treatment. How are these guys doing, and what's it like to have them back?
Awesome to see Buck, man. There was a video of Buck leaving the Rogers Center the other night, and everyone started clapping. That was really cool. And I know it meant a lot to Jamie, where Vladdy and Ken Rosenthal had their names on the Fight Cancer cards during an All-Star game. Jamie's cool. I see him around all the time. I haven't seen Buck yet. Just seen Buck on the telly. I sent him an email a while back. He said he'd be back soon. It just sounds right when Buck is there. Like he's just part of the baseball fabric of Toronto. So yeah, it's wonderful to have Buck back. And his hair looks awesome as always, right? And you see it. I love when you go to the Rogers Center and my son will say, "Where's Buck at?" I go, "See that hair in the distance? That's him way up there." So Buck's just an absolutely wonderful guy. He just reeks of baseball. Everything about him is baseball, and I love that. So it's wonderful to have him back. And Jamie's doing well too. He's on the air all the time, man. He's a trooper.
Yeah, I ran into Jamie at Starbucks in Leslieville a couple of weeks ago. He looked pretty good.
Okay. He is looking good.
Yeah. One last Toronto name that we've been talking about a little bit. Raptors, Kevin Durant. Any chance this is going to be happening? Because it sounds like the latest thing is that maybe the Celtics or maybe Miami.
Well, I think it's kind of cool that the Raptors are even mentioned in it, right? That it's a possibility, because up to 5-6 years ago, that if you said Kevin Durant or a player of his status and you mentioned Toronto, would be like, what are you talking about? So it's cool that Toronto's in on that. My kids are pumped that they signed that kid from the Adam Sandler movie, Hustle. We watched that movie the other night, and I told my kids that the Raps had signed him, so they're pumped about that. I'm no NBA insider. From what I've been told and keep hearing, Scotty Barnes would have to be in on the deal. Masai pulled that miracle a few years ago when he got Kawhi to come to town. I wouldn't put anything past Masai Ujiri, but to be honest, I have no idea where he'll end up. But I think it's great that Toronto's like part of that conversation. They're in that elite status of the NBA where, it's not like we're saying, I don't know, Team X, name a team, and he could possibly go there and you just kind of laugh it off. So Toronto's not in the laugh it off mode, which is good.
Well, KD used to come here for Caravana. I don't know if he did this time.
Yeah.
He
just this
Toronto,
weekend,
so,
right?
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Who knows? I know he's a big fan of the city. Be a shame if they had to give up Scotty Barnes, or it really would be.
That's it. You got to give up something to get something.
One football question. BC Lions have a young quarterback named Nathan Rourke.
Canadian kid.
Kid? Is he going to be the real deal? The next great Canadian quarterback first is Russ Jackson.
Well, he looks like it so far, isn't he? BC's, they're humming along. I mean, I'm not old enough to remember Russ Jackson, but I think it's just great to see. Like, I mean, the Canadian quarterbacks, that's the white whale of the CFL. You always hear about it, but you never see it. I mean, I don't know if that's what a white whale is, but man, it's so cool to see a Canadian kid having success. And I mean, look at these highlights. He's pretty dynamic. He's sticking in the pocket right there, gets it away. He's got the arm.
Right. Incredible poise. The kid's got incredible
poise. And I mean, I'm old enough to remember the Chris Flynn days at St. Mary's University when everyone thought he was going to be the next big thing. I think he ended up with the Montreal Machine and the World League of American Football. So evidently, quarterback's really hard. Evidently, Canadian kids got to convince these American coaches to come up that they can do it. So far, so good in BC.
Well, Frank Clare gave Russ Jackson a shot, and Russ was battling for the position with Ron Lancaster. Both of those guys turned out to be pretty good, but I don't think Frank Clare has any regrets that he stuck with Russ Jackson, who won 3 Grey Cups. Yeah.
I think I got a Ron Lancaster rookie card, by the way.
Really?
With the Rough Riders, from back in the day. I'll dig it up for next time I'm on.
Yeah. Well, I remember watching them when I was a kid growing up in Edmonton, sitting in the knothole gang. We'd pay 75 cents to join, and 75 cents for a ticket, and we'd sit in the first half in the knothole gang, and late in the first half we'd be looking around in the good seats to see if there was anything vacant. So we'd make the trip over at Clark Stadium, and
jeez. Yeah. Was Brian Hall around in those days?
Oh, are you kidding me? Brian Hall was a legend, man. I mean, it
still is.
Every once in a while, somebody would call it. It was an ongoing joke that went on for years and years and years. Somebody would call in on the radio show and they'd say, "Yeah, Brian, whatever happened to Earl Edwards?" Earl Edwards was a defensive end who the Eskimos let go for a song, and it was an ongoing joke.
Set him off.
Brian, he would set him off. He'd hang up on you. He'd mutter a couple of swears under his breath. But that was an ongoing thing. Anyway,
he's the man,
Kenny,
for sure.
I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. It's always great to have you in the program. We'd love to have you on again one of these days. And I got some great Italian threads for you from Classica Imports. Anytime you want to go down there and see Jeff, he'll hook you up. And awesome. I owe you a golf game too. All right.
Let's get out and golf. And I'm going to see if my kids are still in the backyard now.
Okay.
All Father of the year. See you, Joe. See you, Vic. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, man.
More Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show coming up after the break. Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top of the line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Joe Tilley Sports is brought to you by COSA, Central Ontario Standardbred Association, providing a united voice for harness horse people racing at Ontario tracks. Check out your benefits today at COSAonline.com and check out COSA TV on Facebook and YouTube for all the latest harness news and live action updates. Live racing year-round. Go to hpibet.com for all your wagering options. Become a member today, and your first bet is free. That's hpibet.com.
Excuse me. Yeah, let me introduce you to Steve. Having the round of his life, finally gonna pick up some skins, then he gets here, and now this. Try entering and exiting the bunker on the same low side, and then just a couple of swipes with this to clean things up, and everything will be hunky-dory.
Visit moregolf.ca today. You'll find everything a golfer could need, from balls, gloves, and clubs to custom fitting opportunities and training gear. Go to moregolf.ca and get $20 off your first purchase of $100 or more. Just enter the promo code JT Sports.
In 128-2.
Now my COSA Swiss pick of the week. Last week I was at Mohawk for Thursday night's 7th race, the Millard Farm Series for 2-year-old colts and geldings. I took Jokic with Tyler Jones in the buggy, a strong move late after a rough start, but nobody was going to catch the favorite Luke's Bar with Todd McCarthy driving. Dave Minari trains. Jokic was third, and long shot, I got the tab, was second, 1:55.4 the winning time. I got the tab, something that I said never. Okay, this week I'm back at Mohawk for Tuesday night's 5th race, the 3rd leg of the OSS Grassroots Series for 2-year-old trotting colts and geldings. I like the number 2 horse, Tuscan Prince, who seems to be getting better each time out. Bob McClure, the driver, and I'm adding Floyd the Freak and Hasty Bid in the exacta and trifecta. For all the racing updates, visit COSA TV on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Go to hpibet.com for your wagering options.
This is the Excellent Sports Adventure, brought to you by Lycom.
Well, it was a very productive homestand for the Blue Jays, wasn't it? As they stretched their lead in the wild card chase, wrapping things up against the Tigers. What a series for Matt Chapman, who got the Jays rolling with this majestic blast, a 2-run belt, his 20th homer of the year. Chapman drove in 22 runs in July, most by a Jay since 2015. That would be all Jose Barrios would need. He allowed just 3 hits and 1 run over 7 innings with 6 strikeouts. The Jays have won 13 straight home games that Barrios has started. The bullpen was perfect. The Jays have won 12 of their last 15.
His first half was, I've said it, a little bit unlucky. He's made a small adjustment with just trying to stay in his legs a little bit more, but what he's meant to the lineup is a lot. Carried us through this homestand basically, and since the break, he's been on fire. So it's the type of player that he is, and I think it's just a credit to him for sticking with the process. Love it. I think that, it's obviously you come through a tough stretch back on the road and everything that happened off the field, and I just love the consistency in which they're playing, both, offensively, defensively, and on the mound. Bullpen's been awesome. Starters have been great, and, guys are swinging it. So it's fun right now. It's a good time. More of the same. I mean, he was outstanding today. Outstanding. He was landing his curveball. He was spotting his fastball up. He was landing his backdoor sink. He was on.
Sunday morning baseball. Dudley Park.
Good job, Owen.
Got to get my Leo shot in there. Well, it was some key divisional matchups went on in the CFL this week. The Hamilton Tiger Cats are trying something different. A 2-quarterback system seemed to work against the visiting Alouettes. Matthew Schultz did some damage with his legs. a 30-yard run to help set up a score right here. Well, Dane Evans, he hit on 13 of 18 passes for 208 yards and a touchdown. The Cats built a big lead, hung on to clip the Owls 24-17. Both clubs are now 2-5. Division-leading Argos and winless Red Blacks. Dane Evans slips away from the rush. He's got a man open deep. It's Jalon Acklin. Acklin hauls it in for a 33-yard touchdown. He had 144 yards receiving. Red Blacks stunned the Argos 23-13 for their first win. Nathan Rourke, the Canadian kid, continues to shine for the BC Lions. Rourke was outstanding at Mosaic Field, hit on 27 of 33 passes for 336 yards and a pair of touchdowns. This kid is something, isn't he? 5-1 as a starter. Well, the Reds came close, but they had to settle for a goalless draw in New England against Revolution. They're in Nashville this week. The Canadian Elite Basketball League. The playoffs are getting underway this weekend with a couple of play-in games. A massive win by the Niagara River Lions over the Hamilton Honey Badgers on the final game of the regular season to sew up the number 2 seed. Khalil Ahmad had 21 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists to pace the Lions to an 83-79 victory. The quarterfinals are on this weekend. The semifinals and final go next weekend in Ottawa. Now let's hear it for Taylor Pendrith, the pride of Richmond Hill. A tie for second at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Best performance yet by Taylor Pendrith on the PGA Tour. He's a rookie. Now here's our one-shot shootout shot of the week.
God damn it.
4! Our shot of the week is brought to you by One Shot Shootout. It only takes one shot.
Barbotani, the Markham Masher, going for that pin. She is on the green. That is tracking towards the hole. She will be putting for birdie.
Today's environmental tip: use fewer plastic bags. Plastic bags are made from fossil fuels, and that has a negative impact on the climate. Drains clogged with plastic waste can contribute to major flooding. Plastic bags harm wildlife in numerous ways. They may ingest the plastic. Animals can get tangled in discarded plastic.
Rycom, passionate people who turn complicated business problems into simplified technology solutions for public and private sector real estate, properties, portfolios, and enterprise customers. Optimize and future-proof smart buildings from the ground up. The latest in fault locating, base building network design, managed services, cybersecurity, data analytics. Our fault detection will support all smart strategies, define projected outcomes for capital planning, and reduce environmental impact. Rycom, smart protection solutions. At Rycom, we're building a path to a smart and environmentally friendly future. And we want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great folks. We highly recommend them all. This show is available also on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, as well as the Spanglish Network, Zingo TV, and Buzz TV Live. Also, you want to check out our YouTube channel, past shows, weekly sportscasts, shorts, all kinds of cool segments. Like and subscribe. It's free. Thanks once again to Ken Reid for being on the show. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week when the legendary great one, Paul Henderson, drops by. We'll see you then. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show is brought to you by
Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in their early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. Do you want to buy or sell a home? Could 31 years of real estate experience help you? Why not speak to an amazing team that loves to overpromise and overdeliver? Aldo has a tremendous team of experts on staff. They are committed to making your next real estate transaction smooth and comfortable. Call 416-GET-ALDO or visit getaldo.com. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more. Hi, I'm Joe Tilley. This November, join me and my wife Penny Claire for a trip of a lifetime. 2 weeks in Egypt and Jordan. Imagine yourself riding a camel beside the Great Pyramids, cruising the Nile River, viewing the temples at Abu Simbel, exploring the desert at Wadi Rum, visiting the ancient city of Petra, and swimming in the world-renowned Dead Sea. Only $41.99 all-inclusive, with direct flight from Toronto, free upgrade to 5-star hotels, and the cruise. Visit tripoppo.com and book today to get an extra $100 room bonus credit. Let's travel.
The UPS store in Brooklyn wants to help your small business thrive. We offer shipping and more, like our pack and ship guarantee. Plus, we offer graphic design services, fast digital printing, secure document shredding, and mailboxes with a real address. Visit 31 Baldwin Street in Brooklyn, Ontario. Say you saw this on Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show, and we'll tell you how to save 10% every day.